Welcome, my friends, to Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme. Today, we're going to dive into comfort food heaven, and we're going to do it with one of my all time favorites, New England clam chowder, and we're doing it crockpot style. Now, I mean, who doesn't love a creamy, comforting, dreamy bowl of clam chowder that practically makes itself? Now, if you're ready to fill your kitchen with these delicious fragrances that are going to be coming from your crock pot, and you want that little coastal vibe that we're still holding on to, even though it's fall, you are going to want to sit down and be right here in my kitchen. So today, our crock pot meal is going to be one that we love. It's creamy and it has seafood. So we're preparing today a clam chowder, and we're going to do it New England style. So that means that there's no red sauce in it. It's going to be a nice, creamy, rich sauce. And we're going to do it in the slow cooker. So I have the perfect treat for you. I am participating in an easy fall crockpot meal collaboration with Denise Jordan of Homemaking with Denise, who deals with homemaking, faith, and lifestyle. I'm also participating with Trey Michelle, who is a creator who is focused on cleaning motivation, cooking, and motherhood. We're all preparing our favorite fall crockpot meal. All right, so cut this end off. Take these rings off. And while I'm rinsing and peeling, I'm also going to prep the celery. I like to keep the bands that are on my celery because I use those when I'm prepping my starter. So we're going to take off, I'm going to say 4 stalks of celery, and that's going to be dependent upon how significant your celery is. Sometimes the celery is a little skinny, and I do have a few little skinny ones that are here. And if that's the case, then you may need all 4. But we're going to think maybe about 2.5 to 3 cups of each of the vegetables. And so let's get these prepped as well. Now, once we place our celery, our carrots, and our onions, and we're going to add some broth into the crock pot as well as some seasoning. Now, what we're going to do is that we're going to cook the potatoes, the celery, and the carrots in a beautiful seafood broth. And we're going to cook that for at least 2 hours on high. And then we will, about the last hour of cooking, we'll see how those potatoes are doing because they're going to need a little time to come together. So I've got my celery here. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the crock. Carrots here. I like to cut mine into smaller pieces, small chunks, and then dice them from there. The crock pot on for about 4 hours, and then what we're going to do is that we're going to let that cook, and we've got a couple of other things that we're going to do today. We have a little bit of planning that we're going to talk about, as well as we're going to bake some dessert. So stay tuned for all of that because you aren't going to want to miss a moment. I'm going to use at least 1 bag of the bite-sized potatoes, the little baby potatoes, and these are yellow. And I'm just going to cut them into quarters. Taste. There we go. We've got everything in there. I have a few little carrots left. I think I'll go ahead and put those in as well. You know, waste not. Let's continue. Let's get the liquids in, the spices in. Then we're going to close this baby up and let it cook on high for at least 2.5 hours. Now let's put our seasoning in. And I'm going to start with some obey. So I'm going to start with about 1.5 teaspoons of obey, because remember, this is a seafood dish. Okay, about 1.5 teaspoons. And my obey, depending upon the age of your obey, may have just a little bit of a kick. So you may want to err on the side of 1 teaspoon rather than 2. Now I'm going to add in at least 1 teaspoon of garlic. And that's minced garlic. That was 1 teaspoon. I'm going to add a little bit of house seasoning, because that's going to pick up our onion powder, our garlic powder, and of course some black pepper. If you have white pepper, you can certainly use white pepper. Now, because we're seasoning early, that means that we're going to need to go back later, taste it, and see what it needs. Now, I typically put a couple of shakes of Frank's Red Hot into mine. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put about 3 or 4 shakes, because we want this to be good, right? And we want that seasoning to be from the very beginning. So there we go. There's 1, 2, 3. All right, got our Frank's in. All the little peels in. Gonna give this a good stir. And we're gonna be ready to add the broth. Keep this in mind. You could certainly add a bottle of clam juice that you can get in the store, but it's so much better if you have some real seafood broth that you can put in. And you may have a seafood, I guess you could call him a seafood monger, at one of your specialty seafood shops that sells the broth. And if that's the case, pick up a couple quarts and keep it in your freezer. Be careful and make sure that you taste your broth, because it may be that your broth is salty, and if that's the case, that means you'll cut back later on salt, because you will need a little touch of salt in this because of the fact that you have all of these potatoes, and these potatoes are just going to soak up all of this goodness. So I'm going to put in another at least 1/2 quart, and we'll be just about ready to close her up. Let's add a little more broth. About half. And then if we need more later, we can do that. I'm going to set, keep things as clean as possible. Okay, let's get her plugged in. We have it on 4 hours, and in about 2.5 to 3 hours, we'll check it, give it a taste, and we'll add a few things to it. I'm crisping up some bacon because I want to use it in the end, and I'm just going to sprinkle a little handful of it on top of the clam chowder, because that's the way they do it in New England. You have a little green and a little bit of bacon that goes on top. Now let's do a little recap of what we've done up to this point. Over there in the crock pot, we have a mixture of our vegetables. We've got onions, we've got carrots, we've got celery, and we have potatoes, all of which are diced, about 2 cups each, really, of the vegetables. We've added a delicious seafood broth, about 1.5 quarts, and we've added in some seasoning. The good thing is that this mixture is going to cook for the next 2 hours. At the end of 2 hours, we will open it up, give it a taste, and check those potatoes, because we want to make sure that the potatoes are nice and tender and will be perfect for the chowder itself. Now, if we get to this point, just so you know, I want to tell you early so you're prepared. If we get to that point and the potatoes need more time, then you're going to allow at least another hour or so before you add the clams. Okay, the bacon is ready for our chowder when it's ready to put into the bowl. Well, I don't know about you, but it's time to think about fall and think about some of the meals and recipes that you may need for the fall. Now, this particular clam chowder is one that I absolutely love. And every time I prepare it, I do it just a little bit different. Now, sometimes I take the lead from just a regular corn potato chowder and then throw the seafood in. Sometimes I do a total seafood chowder, and then that way I have a variety of seafood in it. But I thought, I think I'll do a New England clam chowder because I really do like that. So that's what we're working on today. Now, I hope that you will take the time to not only finish watching my video and see how everything comes out, but that you'll also go down in the description box and look for the other participants. You have Miss Denise from Homemaking with Denise. You have Trey McCall from her channel, and they are preparing their favorite fall recipes, easy fall recipes as well. So I will have their links down in the description box. Now I'm going to work on some plans because, okay, so today we've taken care of the clam chowder. And for us, Sunday is usually a time out. I also have a chicken stew that I thought about, and I think I'll put that together, and that is a crock-pot meal as well. So be on the lookout for that. Chicken stew, and you're gonna love it. It's delicious. It's not creamy, but it is so full of good vegetables. Your family's going to enjoy it, and we're going to serve it with a side of fresh homemade bread. So let me put that down so I'll remember that I need to make sure that I have our bowl of bread ready. Now tonight I'm serving our clam chowder with some oyster crackers. Those are the little cute little crackers that you get, and sometimes you find them in a bag. Sometimes if it's by premium, you'll also find them in the box. Sometimes they come as squares, but we're doing it New England style, so we're going to get the ones that are the little round, almost like a button, but that's what we're going to be using tonight. So I've got our chicken stew recipe. I have that here and ready to go. So that's something. I also, what I like to do is to do about 3 major recipes per week. And then I can do little quick things in between. So my other one is going to be a beef stew. And it's going to also be full of vegetables. And that particular night, we'll also be able to eat some of that homemade bread. Or it may be that I may actually split the recipe and have 2 individual bowls. We'll talk about that. All right, so we've got our clam chowder for this week. We've got our chicken stew. We've got our homemade bread. Now let me ask you this. I love to plan. And if you didn't know that, you'll have to go back and look at my one plan for 1 month and series. It's a playlist, and it teaches you how to do it, as well as it gives you options. So for those of you who are new home cooks, then you're going to probably want to take it a little slower than jumping off with 30 days of recipes, because you probably don't have 30 days of recipes in your toolbox. You may only have 3 or 4. And if that's the case, then you'll have one for Monday, one for Tuesday, one for Wednesday. You may make Thursday your leftover day, then start up Saturday and Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that's the way you do it. I know when I first started cooking, I had a set dish for Monday, a set dish for Tuesday, and each day of the week had a particular meal. And I kept it that way probably the first couple of years until I really developed more recipes and felt very comfortable with the recipes, and the recipes got better. And so then I felt comfortable enough to do some tweaking to those recipes. So that's what we have to do. You know, this is about the life of a home cook. And a home cook can start. You could be a home cook when you're in an apartment and you're still going to college. You're learning a few little recipes along the way that you can take with you later when you go out totally on your own. So if you're a new cook, and perhaps you might be married or maybe not, you may be in your first apartment, get some recipes that you really like under your belt. And you can decide, because maybe it's only you might only cook once or twice a week. And you may cook something large enough that you can serve it over the week. I've done that too, of where maybe if it were beef stew, I ate that beef stew until there wasn't any more, however many days it lasted. And then I'd probably put together some chicken noodle soup. and then I'd eat chicken noodle soup until that ran out. So I worked the few recipes that I had. So just keep that in mind. Now let's put together some quick muffins, and I do mean quick. We're going to be using the Betty Crocker Delights spice cake mix. So we're going to get that ready. Pour that into our container, and you're going to prepare the batter just as it says on the wrapper. Okay, our wrapper says that we need a cup of water, a half cup of oil, and instead of using oil, I'm going to use butter, and we'll need 3 eggs. Okay, the butter has been softened. I just put it in the microwave for about 35 seconds. And yes, this is plant butter. You use what you have. We're going to add 3 eggs. I think I better do it in here, just in case, no shells. 1, 2, and 3. Put these in. Get my whisk. And let's whisk it up. Using a crock pot is always so convenient, and it's so nice because it gives you an opportunity to prepare other things or do other things, and it's especially the best tool that you can have in your house when you're working, whether you're working within your home, you're working outside of your home, or you may even be homeschooling your littles. And so if that's going on, you need some free time. So you notice that within those 4 hours that we're preparing this particular crock pot meal, that I've done some planning, I'm making a dessert. All of this will have a chance to cook and be ready long before the crock pot has finished preparing the mixture that we have within it. So enjoy your crock pot. Use it as often as you can because it certainly saves you a lot of time. Get another bowl and we'll chop them up. Add a little bit. And this is an apple pie filling, so I'm just going to give these a good chop. I'm going to actually use my scissors. So I want chunks of apples all through the run into a peel or a seed. You know what to do. Take them out. Okay, add this into the mix. I had thought I'd use my muffin tins, but I'm thinking I may need to do this in a loaf pan. I'm going to go ahead and add those. Might as well use them all. And no, I didn't chop those up. What was I thinking? But we won't be stopped. That's what you do when you forget to do something. Don't put it off. Just go ahead and do what you got to do. All right, there we go. Got our apples in there. Everything's mixed. I think it needs just a little more cinnamon. And you can tell by the smell whether or not it has the spices that you need. Let me rinse my hands and we're going to get some more cinnamon. Now, if you happen to have some apple pie spice, then that's what you're going to want to use. Test it, see if it smells good, because it has lots of cinnamon, nutmeg, a little bit of clove. We're going to add all that in as well. And I'm going to take out my silicone loaf pan. I have prepared those muffin tins, but we'll have to use those another day. And let me rinse these off because they've been on the shelf. I like to spray mine. You don't have to with the silicone, but I just like to spray it because I think they come out easier. So I'm just using baking spray. And we're going to add our apple spice to our loaf pan. Get all of it. Use my spurtle. Get everything out. Okay. Take my paper towel, wipe off the edges. So that they won't burn. And we're going to get this into the oven. I'm going to put it on a 350 oven. And somewhere between 20 to 30 minutes. It'll be ready. I'll let you know exactly. And I'm only saying that because we added the apples to it. Now, I certainly could have diced apples or sliced apples and put them on top, but I opted not to do that. I opted to put the apples in the cake. So, that's what we're going to do. She's on 350. I started it cold, so it will come up to temperature, and as it comes up to temperature, it's going to cook. And I'm going to set my kitchen timer for 15 minutes, and I know to check it. We're here, we're making plans, we're thinking about fall because it's just the beginning of fall. It's still warm outside. And so this is a great time to be able to sit down, put together your meal ideas, start to collect those grocery items, because now is the time to get your pantry ready and to make sure that you have everything that you need. And you know, we have more than one pantry for those of you who might not have been with me early on this journey. We have our regular pantry, our kitchen pantry that we have is right here in the kitchen.
Sorry, something went wrong. Please try again.
We also have, that's Alexa talking to me. Why is she talking? I have no idea. But we also have our refrigerator and our freezer, both of which are pantries. So that's 3. And if you're fortunate enough to have an additional freezer, then that makes 4. Now, for young home cooks, you probably don't have an additional freezer. And if that's the case, it's okay. You may only have 2 main pantries, but you want to make sure that you have what you need in your pantry when you need it. I spent some time this morning adding a few touches of fall to the kitchen. All right, we've tasted our sauce just to make sure that it was delicious and that the flavors were on point. And now it's been about 4 hours. We've had a chance to play in the kitchen. We've had a chance to talk in the kitchen. And let me tell you, the kitchen smells amazing. And every now and then you might hear the big guy coming through, because you know what he's doing. He hovers when things start to smell good. Now, the last step is to turn this into the true classic clam chowder. And we're going to add the clams, of course, and then we're going to give it a cup of cream. And it's going to be so creamy and rich, and it's going to be begging to be ladled into a bowl. So let's get it ready. We are in the last hour of cooking, and at this point, I'm going back to make sure that everything is on point. We've added our clams, we've added the cream, and I'm noticing that in spite of adding the cream, it's still a little thin. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add about 1/4 to almost a 1/2 cup of potato flakes. And that's going to help to give the soup a little more body. Well, our bread took about 40 minutes to bake, and I think that was because I added all of the apples to it, but it's ready to go. I'm going to let it sit here for about 10 minutes and then take it out. Oh my goodness, my friends, there you have it. We've got our Crockpot clam chowder, our easy fall crockpot meal. And you're going to love it. It is absolutely delicious. We're going to take a taste, and I'll have a chance to tell you what I think. Now, this is one of those recipes that will have everyone thinking that you've been in the kitchen all day cooking. And you know, the reality of it is that yes, we were in the kitchen, but we were multitasking. We had a lot of other things to do along the way. We had to get our chit chat on and get some fall in. Now, we're going to get ready to give it a try. Thank you for hanging out with me today in the kitchen and making this delicious New England clam chowder. If you love this recipe, then please take time to hit the like button, share it with your friends, and if you aren't a family member, subscribe. Now, be sure to visit the other collaborators and make sure that you check out their recipes and see what they're doing in their kitchen.